My name's Kyle Harding. I have probably met most of you. I'm COO of America's Second Harvest here in Savannah. I'm in my 14th month now. I am really having a good time. And a big part of the blessing of my role is partnerships with great people like you. So I appreciate you and we appreciate you. Okay, I'm going to get right to it. They told me I took too long last week in the training, or I felt like I did anyway. I want to share with you, this is great news, okay? This is all good news, and there's no mixture of bad in it. Many of you have heard of GNAP, okay? We have just received last week our new GNAP contract. There's a big change, all right? And then there's a few little changes and some details we need to make sure everybody understands. So I'm going to take you through that. And then Jenna and Denia are going to cover a few points with you. Nothing that we say here today is going to not be important, okay? Every single word is going to be important. We're not going to take a lot of time, and it's really very simple. And we're only going to cover the mandatory things. Okay, so here's the big change. You're aware, last year we had GNAP. We got our contract in May. We got food in June. We started distributing. We had a 4-month timeline. You had a 4-month timeline. All the food had to be in households at the end of 4 months. This year, we're saying that there is a 6-month window. Now, this is a technicality, all right? So I want you to understand this. The state of Georgia has got 2 programs, both coming from federal TANF dollars, okay? From the state of Georgia standpoint, the guidelines are identical, all right? And those are 4-month distribution windows. Because we've decided we're not going to run them at the same time, we have extended that distribution guideline to 6 months. The first program that you're aware of is GNAP. We're actually not going to start the GNAP distribution until March. However, the state of Georgia has created the second program, which they're calling NICE. That stands for Nutrition, Nutrition in the Communities for Excellence, or something like that. We're going to start that, and it's the same kind of food, same intentions, same distribution requirements. We're going to distribute that in January and February, and then start GNAP in March. And we'll do NICE in January, February, GNAP, March, April, May, June. So we will have 6 months for this great food. Now, this is really important because it was difficult to get all the food out in 4 months. We have 6 months. Having said that, our budget is nearly doubled, okay? So we need as many of you to participate as possible, but everybody can't participate. And let me explain why. There are some mandatory guidelines around both these programs. Guideline number 1, residents of Georgia. Okay, that's pretty standard for us, for our food bank, probably pretty standard for you. But you have to be able to meet that requirement. So the participants, the beneficiaries of both GNAP and NICE must be residents of Georgia. Number 2, they must be families or individuals under 18. So either a child or a family with a child or children under the age of 18. These programs are for families with children, okay? You might have programs where you serve children directly, and that's fine. You might have programs where you serve families, and that's fine as well. But to receive GNAP or NICE food, they have to have children under the age of 18, okay? Both programs have that same guideline. NICE, again, starts January. We have already ordered the food. The food is coming in. I'm going to read you the food list in just a minute. You're going to be really excited about this. 100% Georgia residents, children under 18. And the eligibility guidelines for these families have not changed. They're the same. It is determined, and they will self-identify with a form, and we'll provide the form, but they have to either be currently TANF participation, which there are very few families in the state of Georgia that have that. It's fewer than 6,000 families statewide. So none of you have a whole lot of direct TANF beneficiaries right now. And so what we're trying to emphasize is families at risk. And the way that they qualify for being at risk: current SNAP recipient, enrolled in Medicaid, currently receiving SSI, or, and this is a big kind of catch-all, declared household income below 200% of the federal poverty line. And those of you that participated in last year's GNAP will recall that those guidelines with monthly and weekly incomes are right there on the form, so that families can look at that and say, oh yeah, I qualify, and go ahead and participate. Okay. Now, here's the thing that tends to be potentially an adjustment for you, and that is this: because there is a deadline for both programs. The deadline for NICE food is at the end of February. We're going to probably stop honoring orders in the second week of February, so that you can have your distributions completed by the end of February. That's going to be mandatory. Okay, so what does that require? Well, you have to plan. You have to not purchase more than you can distribute. You have to have a place where you can store it separately, so that you can know what you have and what you don't have. Because at the end of the program, we will ask you to verify that your inventory is gone per the state of Georgia. And we have to certify this. All this food must be in households by the end of the period. That'll be true with NICE, and then that will be true with GNAP. Okay. And your monthly reporting and your MSR, you will be able to tell us how many families that you have served. But at the end of the period, you'll have to certify that your food is completely distributed and is in households. All right. So that'll be crucial. That's the one thing that you may have to make some adjustments, because I know a lot of agencies, you have a pantry, for example, and all the food goes in there. But best practice is to designate between USDA and donated, or USDA and purchased. You will need to designate also NICE and GNAP, so that you can tell us and not be wrong that your food is completely gone. Okay, so you have to think about that. Let me read you this food list. All right, this is what, and we have it now, or we will have it this week, so that we can begin distribution first week of January. We have 18-ounce peanut butter. We have 15-ounce carrots. We have 5-ounce canned chicken, smalls for backpacks. We have 1-ounce Apple Whirls and Honey Nut cereal, 1-ounce single serving. We have 7-ounce Raisin Bran and Bunch of Cinnamon, so more of a larger pack, not really like a full 14 or 15-ounce family pack, but bigger than a 1-ounce. We have 4.5-ounce mixed fruit cups and peach cups, again, to feed families, but also children. Great backpack items, right? We have, 15-ounce beef lasagna, 15-ounce vegetable stew with beef. And so these are items that they can go in a backpack, but they weigh almost a pound, but they can go in a backpack, get home, feed the family, right? And then we have 7.5-ounce beef stew and 7.5-ounce chicken with rice. So we tended to emphasize in this food purchase, and hats off to Dave Cool for helping with this, for any program, pantry programs, feeding programs, backpack programs. We heard feedback from many of you that these were the kind of things that last year's GNAP contract, or last year's GNAP program, didn't really provide. And I'll tell you what, it's really, it's the state of Georgia that heard that, and they lifted the price cap requirement. These small items are very expensive per pound. There was a 90-cent per pound price cap last year. There's not a price cap this year. So we are able to use these funds to get more things that are going to be more desirable. So our hope is that because we have these time windows that these things are really going to fly off our shelves, you should order early, and you should start as soon as you can start, and you should make a plan to not put yourself in a position where you have food at the end of the contract. All right. Those are the things that I wanted to say. We're going to have a time for questions at the end. Jenna, I'm going to give it back to you, and you can cover a few additional things.
Okay, I will go ahead and go over the GNAP form, the eligibility form for this year. It is essentially the same form as last year. There will be a few changes, obviously, to the date, but most importantly, the income levels did not change this year, unless the Atlanta Food Bank will send us an updated one. This is what we have, and the income levels have not changed. So what's most important for us is that you guys, when you give this form to your neighbors when they fill it out. This is not like the USDA form where they just fill it out and sign it, and then that means they are eligible. You have to analyze this form and look through and make sure that they have children. They have they list a number of children here, or that they are eligible by having SNAP, Medicaid, Social Security, TANF, or they're eligible income wise. So they have to have children in their household, and be eligible by income or by these at-risk factors that we listed here. A great way to just go ahead and filter out households that don't have children. The first thing to ask them, do you have children in your household? If they say no, don't hand them this form. If they say yes, hand them this form. That's the best way to do this. We also want to talk about how the two different programs, we have NICE and we have the GNAP. They will need to complete one for each distribution period. So after the first 2 months of January and February, they will need to complete another form again in March for the GNAP products. And then also for backpack programs, you do not have to have the children complete this form. They are eligible if they are receiving free and reduced lunch by the government. That's one of the things that they call eligible. So they do not have to complete this form. Their parents don't have to complete this form, or their counselors do not have to complete this form. So you're good to go. So I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, Denai, do you want to take this over here?
Yeah.
So,
okay, so with this slide, this is just a NCAP, or sorry, are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is just a recap of what we've been doing here at American Second Harvest to ensure that we're in compliance with Atlanta County Food Bank, as well as DHS. So we've already started purchasing the foods for NICE to ensure that you all will be able to start purchasing for the 2nd of January, as we will be closed on the 1st. So we extended it to the 2nd to ensure that you all would be able to purchase and have that full amount of time frame. So as Kyle stated, we have a bunch of backpack friendly items because we heard your concerns and we wanted to ensure that you are our priorities. Another few items is just the memorandum, the eligibility form, and ensuring that the period of compliance. So you all, not everyone last year, if you all can recall, had to go through the audit process. There was only a select few, and we just want to do that same thing again. We're trusting your word that if you're stating that the product is gone, the product is gone. But we will take 10% of the agencies who are enrolled in GNAP and NICE, ensure and do a physical audit at your locations just to confirm that the location, the product is gone from you all's location. So this is the MOU. It is very similar to the ones you all signed last year if you participated in the GNAP of last year. The only difference now is that it does include NICE, because once again, these are two separate pots of funding. So we wanted to ensure that you are aware that you are responsible for two programs in a sense. And reporting and responsibilities. So these are the things that we have to do to ensure that as the food bank, we're in compliance. And if you look at the list, some of these we also ask from you all, our agencies. So it's very important that, you know, you keep the invoices that you're receiving every month once you make your purchase, or twice a month, however frequently you purchase. It's very important that, you know, you're keeping a total of the meals that you're serving. How many households do you serve? What are the age brackets? Does it fall within that 18 and under? Is it between that 19 and 64? Are they seniors? This helps us ensure that we're providing the accurate information to ensure that food insecurity is met and is decreasing within our 21 county radius. So if you all would just take a moment and looking at the list featured below, you will see that these are things that you're doing on a regular basis. There is nothing demanding from this new program, this new contract. It is the same information as once. It's just, once again, you have more products available because we have more funding. So like stated before, these are just the items that we need from you. So thank you all for participating in this. Now that you've participated in the training, if you would like to proceed and going forward with GNAP participating, you will all receive an MOU. So we want to ensure that we answer your questions so that we can get those MOUs out to you as soon as possible so that you can start purchasing as soon as possible. You will do your MSRs. It will be just as the ones that are listed in Agency Express. There will be no difference to them. So it's not going to be anything hectic per se. And then the only other thing is ensuring that you're providing your verbal response to ensure that your inventory is gone. And then if you are not able to distribute your items, please, please, please just notify us within a reasonable time. We ask for 30 days, but we know sometimes that you think that you can do a last minute distribution and it may not go as planned. Maybe your volunteers pulled out, whoever knows. Just please give us that heads up as soon as possible. That way we can work with you. We could either get the items back or work with a neighboring agency in your area to get those items out to the community because someone needs them and someone wants them.